1. Boost ignition and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
This episode of Lesbo and the Bean is brought to you by Lather & Co. That's latherandcompany.com for all your bath and body needs.
This is an exclusive for Lesbo and the Bean. Remember to type in LATB, L-A-T-B, 15 for 15% off. Any purchases over $25 will give you free shipping. U.S. domestic for now. Wait till later.
That's a really good deal for Lesbo and the Bean. So once again, that's latherandcompany.com for all your organic, cruelty-free bath and body needs. And on to the show.
Welcome back. Episode 181. What a weekend we had. I mean, there was promotions from Friday to Sunday. Eventful stuff happened. It only took the later part of the weekend to finally get there. UFC really closed the boat because, dare I say that, really uneventful Bellator showings. We're usually praising them as of late, and feel like they really shit on boost this past Friday and Saturday.
The best Bellator fight all weekend was Gracie versus Caceres. Boom, 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 boom. Always giving that Gracie hate. What? Who don't care?
Coming in hot. So, if you're living under a rock, you didn't catch any of the MMA this weekend. There was LFA access fights. Invicta going on.
Two Bellators.
I mean, UFC on a Sunday, and really there was a lot of injuries that I saw all weekend long. I want to go directly into this Sunday card, especially because here at LATB, we're doing a little late because of the time constrictions.
Real quick.
Yeah.
DAZN. Yeah, sorry we're late, you guys, but there was a UFC yesterday, so what were we going to talk to you about if we didn't watch?
And Monday's a work day.
Exactly. So it's we're just a day late, but not $1 short. Hopefully you have all the dollars if you listened to us last week.
I know you have all the dollars if you listened to us last week, because, again, the Bean went 9 of 12. Lesbo coming in 10 for 10, 2 weeks in a row. Ow!
I'm hot right now.
Underdogs for days, by the way. We weren't all favorites this time around, but again, that Sunday, we had Friday and the night. I mean, well, where do we really start with the entire weekend?
What I was going to say is the DAZN again. I accidentally didn't cancel my DAZN.
That's what they want.
I know. I just totally forgot. I actually had to put a reminder on my phone, like, cancel DAZN on the 15th because they'll charge you again on the 16th, and I'll be stuck with it again, and then I might as well keep it. Yeah, there's some good fights. There's stuff I want to see. I like everything they're doing with the tournament, but now they might have me. Oh, wait, not DAZN. ESPN Plus. There's so many apps now. I think Fight Pass might be the first to go. ESPN Plus just signed Tyson Fury.
Interesting.
For like a 6-fight deal.
Is it interesting or not, though? I mean, I'll watch a Tyson Fury fight, but I'm not going to mark it on my calendar. If it comes up and I'm like, oh, there's a Tyson Fury fight, yeah, let's watch it, but it's not.
I think he's the most compelling figure in heavyweight right now, even over Joshua and over Dante, he's the one I'll watch. And I'm interested to see if he fights either of those guys, because they have their own promotions and shit.
For me, the only boxer that I'm willing to save the date for right now and actually pay attention to,
Mayweather.
For sure. I was gonna go more with that Lomachenko.
I didn't know that Lomachenko was with the chick from Heroes.
Not Hayden Panettiere?
Hayden Panettiere.
No. You're wrong. That was
different boxer.
Yeah, that was Klitschko.
Klitschko,
and he had a baby with her, but they're already divorced.
What? No, listen to this gossip. So he is getting custody of the kid because she's wild as hell.
Really?
How often does that happen?
She could be a little freak though.
She looks like the girl from Smallville. We won't go back there. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Back there. She's the girl from freaking Remember the Titans. That's what I always remember. That's the creepy thing, because she was a kid then.
She always looked like a kid. I liked her in Heroes, the TV show, as the cheerleader. And then she was in Television Zone, Nashville. You're welcome.
Those are all things that I'm going to have to catch up later on. But definitely tons going
I don't
on
think you have to.
in the fight community.
Heroes is good. The first season of Heroes is good, and then they fell off because they gave the first seasons of Heroes is stuff dreams are made of. It's just amazing. I can't say enough good things about it. But then they had to give everyone a superpower, and I'm like, that's where you lose me. It ain't super if everyone has it.
I stayed on that Walking Dead train for 3 seasons too long. The newest season startup, which is a finale, I haven't even started it because I don't give a shit. Do that mid-season break thing. Get out of here. Lucky if I find you 5 years after you're done, because I don't play.
I only watched 20 minutes of the first episode still, and I would watch it, but I'm too scared. But our fans know this.
Everybody knows this.
Everybody
knows this. So what did you take away from the first
Friday night's fights? I didn't even watch at all.
Well,
I didn't even turn. Maybe the end I watched. I don't even remember.
Well, you gotta watch. You gotta say Mitrione, big meathead, ended up finishing the fight in 10 seconds. It was a first round knockout or no contest because of a groin shot. It was actually considered a no contest.
Oh, did a ball pop?
No. We ended up seeing the heavyweight fighter at the second Bellator the next night in the stands giving a thumbs up. I don't know what his name is. He Russian? Exactly. But he got kicked hella hard in the nuts. He got
by
kicked
Mitrione to boot.
square in the dick. I mean, even with a cup. Woo!
That's so then Saturday, are we rolling?
What other fights can you even talk about on Saturday? Dudas ended up beating that one guy.
MVP Daly.
That was the main event, and probably one of the most anticipated fights
ever.
It
was up there. Top 100.
For Bellator, top 3.
Yeah, agreed.
And definitely anticipated over the UK to be a striker's delight. Ended up turning into Decision City. Paul Daly's a wrestler. Did you know that?
Well, that's all he was going to do. He knew he had to do that the whole time. That's what everyone said he was going to have to do, but he has the hardest hands. He's going to go in there. He has the best right hand. Is that what everyone's saying? Left hand. And he's going to go in there and knock him out, whatever. I had MVP the whole time.
I had Daly.
It was what are their weight class, 155?
I believe so.
Or 170.
155.
155ers. The worst 155 headline fight ever. They moved like they were heavyweights. It was a slow fight. It was tedious.
It was a tedious fight, and that's all credit due to MVP, especially after the first time Daly ate a couple of those shots. He realized, oh, this guy can hit me from anywhere. And that really backed Daly off on a lot of his pressure that he likes to do. But, I mean, the shots that Paul Daly was shooting and landing on MVP were JV level high school kid wrestling shots. You could see it by the way he flattened out and was still able to suck it up and get it. Any good wrestler is going to be like, oh, you just gave me your back, dude. You extend that far in a shot, you gave me your back. But that's to the quality of opponent that MVP is. Still think he's a dynamite striker, but more proof that either one of those guys in the UFC doesn't go far.
That is all I thought about the whole time I watched it. Yep. That is all I thought about is, how do these guys even fare with guys that aren't in the UFC anymore? How do these guys fare against Eddie Alvarez? How do these guys fare against guys that, may be on their way out soon? How do they fare against, I don't even know, how do they fare against a Jim Miller? I mean, he's a 145er, I guess, but
he's at a gatekeeper status right now.
Yeah, I know, but do they beat Jim Miller, either of those guys?
Give me underdog money on Jim Miller, and I'm taking it. Give me underdog money on Jim Miller. I'm taking that bet in a fucking heartbeat.
That's what I'm saying. But, so then Sunday.
Well, real quick, we did have Invicta fights on Saturday as well. We ended up having a couple profile fights. The main event ended up being Pearl Gonzalez over... was it Dudieva? I could be wrong on that. It might have been something else. I think Dudieva was earlier on the card.
I'm horrible. I should know, but I heard more about the co-main event than the main.
Well, the co-main event was a quick one. I believe it was a little 105 girl, 20 years old, out of ATT. Can't remember her name. Lurel. But either way, the people are giving her all sorts of credit. She was wearing all pink. She's cute. Threw some spinning shit out there. She fought a tomato can. So people that are fucking saying that this girl's the next up and comer, wait till she fights someone of caliber and let me put underdog money on them, because she did nothing in there to prove that she's anything. In the main event, we ended up having one of the sickest eye gouges. This was actually a Friday night, 2 minutes before the Mitrione nut shot. There was an eye gouge in between the Pearl Gonzalez main event where Pearl Gonzalez ended up scratching the eye, raking the face of the opponent, and Initially, I thought it was just an eye poke. They ended up going to the scorecards, which Pearl won by decision due to the infraction, and ended up winning a decision. Once they started showing photos, this lady was missing a chunk of her eyelid. She didn't get eye. She has to have some sort of visual issues. She can't close her eye.
And how does that heal? You have to well, first I think they would tape it shut, so you'd have to allow the scab to heal. And then you would have to, I wonder if they could put like a second skin on it.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe like a second skin over it. Because it was right towards the bottom of the top lobe where the eye meets
I might be wrong.
It was
the
gnarly.
only thing I think about with eye skin, and I might be totally wrong, it just seems like ball skin. It's so thin.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's so thin.
Lesbo, our expert on ball skin.
Well, I might be talking to some lesbians out there that are like...
You want to know what it feels like? Get in there, girl. Get in there, girl. It's a good point. You're spot on. Spot on.
It seems very tender. It seems like if you touch your eyelid, you're like, did you just shave? Yeah, so
that ended up being Friday night. Saturday night, we had MVP Daily, which was no bueno at all whatsoever. But then we ended up getting into Sunday, where we had somebody finally save me.
Finally, UFC.
And we had UFC coming through, coming in hot. If you ain't following Lesbo and the Bean on Twitter, you ain't making money, because we had a huge underdog to start off the night. Lesbo tends to stay away. You know the Bean doesn't follow the rules.
But I did put her in places, and I had her on my card because we agreed. That's where it's starting to become, if we agree on something, we have like an 80% success rate. It's gotta be a good...
That's a new.
Yeah, like... The last card set it off where I'm like, look at all the ones we agreed on and all the ones we got right.
Right? That's such a good point. And, man, how right were we? Albu came in swinging in hard. I mean, the first two shots, Whitmire ducked under for a humongous double leg takedown. Went right to the back, transitioned right to the back, rear naked choke. Good night,
Fuck
Albu.
you, Abu.
As we were saying on the show, Albu's all about her looks, power, and being more of a model than an actual fighter in there. We didn't see much from her. She could probably still beat some lower level people in there, but Whitmire, probably going to be rare we see underdog money for her moving forward.
Yeah, don't jump on the hype train yet, everyone. Calm down. Slow your roll. Give her a couple of fights. But if she's an underdog going forward, there's money to be made. That's how I feel. If she's the favorited going forward, just hold up. Let's.
I don't even necessarily know, because I feel like this was super matchup dependent, and I feel like I was so off of Albu.
Yeah, that's what.
And it was just like, again, stylistically, Carlos Barza will probably run right through the 115-pounder right now, but that's way further up than Whitmire should be fighting right now.
Yeah.
Who would you even give at 115?
First fight of the night, I'd maybe give her a slot at the third fight in on the prelims. I'm not really
not even opponent.
It doesn't even matter yet. It's just she gets to move up on the card.
Agreed. She doesn't fight somebody that's lost a fight. She fights somebody that's coming off of a win. Then we moved on to the 135-pounders, where we had Luke Saunders come in against Renan Barao. This was one that we both sided on for the decision. Still really iffy on, because Luke Saunders knows the shit in bus every once in a while. But as we were saying, the ghost of Barao didn't even show up in there, because Barao ate a few right hands. I mean, this was done in the first round, first minute of the second round. Renan Barao just I was honestly surprised that he didn't lay down his gloves in there and walk away.
If he's going to fight, though, honestly, everyone, think about it before you're like, he should fight, he should fight, he should fight. He is the second fight in on a prelim card. Renan motherfucking Barao.
Former champion.
He was like the Aldo of his division for a long time.
10 years
he
not
was
losing.
A murderer.
10 years not losing at a point in time.
Unbelievable. His name, if he's going to continue to fight, does make a prelims look rather sexy.
That's a good point.
And you
CTE though.
I agree, and he could be going in against, like, I think Renan Barao. Who do we have? Did we see Renan Barao against our boy Boom?
And he lost, and we made money on the underdog there.
Yeah, I think that's just what we're gonna do. There's gonna be so many casuals that are just gonna bet on name alone.
I hope we don't, because I don't want to see Renan Barao fight anymore. There is nothing that he showed in there that's like, oh yeah, he's got a fight in them left. There is nothing, and he isn't the only fighter that I'm going to have to say that about tonight. Oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Anything left with Luke Saunders ready to go forward? Because I think if he's a favorite next time, I'm betting against him.
Second fight of the night at 135. Can we see Luke Saunders versus our homeboy Sugar Shane when he comes back? I think that's a good fight for Sugar Shane to come into and look like a hero.
Is Sugar Shane at 135? Oh, he is. Yeah. He is. I like that. Sugar Shane was called out, a couple times throughout the night. I actually was about to say later on, and I'm jumping the shark here, maybe the loser, maybe Benito Lopez at 35?
I don't mind that. I think that's a great fight for Benito to remind you guys how awesome he is.
How much better he is.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And Saunders just won quickly, and Benito lost without any damage.
I think that's you move up, you fight.
And they do it in Miami. Woo!
I'm okay with that.
Going to Miami.
You really want Benito. And he can fight soon because...
It's a quick submission. That's what I'm saying.
He wants to watch Benito fight for all you pervs out there.
I just want to see Faber's butt. I mean chin.
His tits on his face. I'm going to motorboat it.
I think it would smell.
I'm going to be like, Faber, can I motorboat your cleft?
Do you think he has to pick lint out of it every once in a while?
Yeah, I think he has to clean it with a Q-tip.
That's what I'm saying. Oh.
If I'm Faber, I get like a piercing right there, like a little diamond or something, since he's not fighting anymore.
Oh, totally.
Or yeah, I grow over it. I grow a goatee over it.
I think it's so bad it would just look like a turd falling out of a butthole.
Like you would see
soul patch, a little soul patch.
Would pinch in.
If he did a soul patch at the bottom, it'd be a little poop coming out of a butt.
I wonder if it itches, like hair grows against the...
I wonder if he gets an ingrown hair.
Yeah. It's a little belly button. Woo! I wonder if his umbilical cord was coming from it. Okay. Poor
right.
Faber. He didn't even fight.
He didn't do nothing. So, by the way, before we even got to here, we went over this really quickly. But Jessica Penne ended up falling out over Escobar.
Yeah.
Jesse Escobar. First, Penne ended up missing weight by 5 pounds, which so did Renan Barao, and so did, who was the third and final one? Renan Barao, Penne, and wasn't there a third one? Bermudez by 5 pounds as well. So that ended up happening.
But you know what was awesome? Because Penne fell out, it dropped my parlay. So I didn't.
Oh, it canceled it, so it didn't eat that bet alive?
Barao was on it, and I wondered, like, I have money left in my account. It was because that bet canceled.
Oh, because they canceled that entire bout.
Yeah.
So, right, Jessica Penne ended up falling out hours before with her rolled ankle. I made a fat person
bet for everyone. I put together a parlay of everyone that missed weight.
At Lesbo and the Bean, for Lesbo, she ended up almost cashing out. If you're following the Bean, you had 2 out of 3, and they were all underdogs, just saying. All underdogs.
Oh, my God. Speaking of, I don't even remember who it was that put it out. It might have been Top Turtle, dare I say. They put out all these fights cashed, and they were all like under like
minus
250,
minus 350. Chalk favorites, chalk favorites.
Shut up! You don't even have to say that stuff out loud. You don't
I
even
kind
have
of agree
to say
with
it
that.
out loud.
If it's a favorite,
it's the favorite. It's one thing if it's like one, like if it's a pick'em, or if it's close enough where you're like 2-1. You know, if it's less than 2-1, we can talk about it at least.
Totally.
If it's over 2-1, shut the fuck up.
Because it is. I totally agree.
Why
with
even
that.
say it out loud? You're just a douche. Like, I don't know.
It's like, look at all these guys that were supposed to win came through for me. Yeah, good job. Good read.
Yeah.
Good read.
Yeah. You're a fucking magician.
But an underdog that came through for Lesbo, unofficially, not one of our free picks or anything, but here on the show, she did side with Nick Lentz coming in over Scott Holtzman. The Carney ends up showing all of his tricks all over again, really showing a great gas tank and making it a tough fight for anybody in there. Even though Lentz won that fight fair and square, I still liked what I saw from Holtzman. I loved everything I heard in the corner for Holtzman because he lost those first 2 rounds, and his corner coming in the third said, "You're losing 2 rounds. You need to knock his ass out." And they didn't stop trying. The only thing I would take away from Holtzman is he does load up too much on his shots, and that's what was giving him away the fight. He was throwing 2 and 3 punch power combinations all 3 rounds, but they were too telegraphed. And that's where Lentz was able to use that crafty veteranness to get around it. But he ate some motherfucking shots.
I felt like Lentz had the most telegraphed right hand where he was actually leaping forward, all like a full body length leaping forward into Holtzman, and Holtzman would just stand there and take it and then never counter, ever. I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities here for Holtzman, and I still want to watch him go forward. Nick Lentz is a guy that his wrestling will drown you, but I just don't understand. He just is a punching bag, and he takes 3 to give 1. Takes 10 to get a takedown, and he's grinding out these really ugly decisions. But I think you said it about him going into it. This guy's battle worn, and it's showing again on another fight. Like, it's only a matter of time. It's going to be a crack in a dam once his chin breaks.
Once the bridge bursts.
It's going to start happening, like, where you're like, oh, this guy got so ugly so fast, and everyone's going to be like, I didn't even ever like Lentz. And I'm going to be like, well, I made a lot of money with Lentz.
It is a truth. It was a great underdog he ended up picking. Dare I say he fights like a Conor of a worker. He just takes a beating until people are tired, and then he lays it on.
I like that Mac Malley, did some tweet, and so I tweeted at him that you could celebrate by having carne asada.
Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds good.
But I still like Lentz as an ugly underdog going forward, and the shitty thing is, I think Holtzman's going to be the favorite going forward. I think they're going to both walk into their next fights in the same position they're at this one.
I totally agree with that as well. A great call with the Lentz being that grinder. Here at LaTB, we tend to side with that, and should have followed your lead on there. Again, great pick. I like what you're saying moving forward.
I think it was Ben Askren's account. 8 out of the 9 belts in the men's division are held by wrestlers, and one when it was after the Gracie fight, and one guy submits a guy, and all of a sudden it's
with
BJJ
the suspect ground
for
game.
life. Yeah, it's BJJ for life. So I just thought it was funny. We're like, wow, 8 of the 9 champions in the men's side
are wrestlers.
Yeah, 8 of the 9, and if you and the women's division couldn't be more. It's
diverse.
It's been ran by every kind of person so far.
What does that mean?
I don't think one of the practitioners have been the same yet.
I'm joking.
Shevchenko and Joanna. They're both Muay Thai.
Yes, one's Polish, one's Russian, Peruvian, Latina-ish, mix of everything.
Yeah.
So.
And one more thing why I just said that and just weird train of thought. Rose Namajunas turned down UFC 235 and asked to fight Andrade in Brazil.
Even though we haven't seen a lot of Rose, that's the way you redeem yourself for being inactive. You take the hardest fight in the hardest place, and everybody will be like, "Okay, I'll give her that pass for being inactive."
Apparently, Conor McGregor's calling out that he wants to fight in Brazil, and everyone's like, "What the fuck does Conor love fighting in Brazil for?" But that's where he fought Jose.
Because the energy's high.
And do you think he'd walk back in there if he wasn't fighting Jose as a hero? Do you think they'd like him?
That's a tough call. It's interesting. I feel like I'm starting to see the McGregor dam starting to crack, where he used to have a lot of leverage. And now the stuff we've been seeing, he's kind of like, oh, look, I'm still fighting. Where it's like, you got Max, you got freaking Nagano, you got a myriad of all these other fighters at 155, 170. Well, there's just so many other people taking that Conor spot.
It's like you cut off the head of the dragon and a whole bunch are growing in.
And he thinks, oh, I'm the end-all be-all, and all of a sudden UFC's like, oh, look, these guys have been winning fights. People want to watch them, and they don't give a shit about you. He's being his own. He's doing the DS thing to an extent where it's like, they're like, we don't want to fight. Eventually, the public's like, all right, we don't want you to fight. If you don't want to fight, all right, we got Tony freaking Max.
What about the Diaz thing?
I
love that. But I don't want them to ever meet each other. Like, it hurts my heart. I won't be able to... They're my 2 favorite fighters.
Who would you much rather watch? McGregor Tony or Max Tony?
Max Tony is the better fight.
Everything I just said, proven.
Who even wins that? I could see that going any way. I don't even think I can pick that fight. Those are my 2 favorite fighters. There would have been a time when I first started watching that I would have said, that would be like if Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey got in a fight.
I got Rousey. So then we move on to the 125-pounders where we had KGB Lee versus Ashley Evans Smith in a decision. This went all 3 rounds. The striker ended up keeping this where she wanted to, using that takedown defense to pick apart Smith on the feet. Smith, I mean, she looked like she had 2 punches and never got out of that. Once she didn't have a takedown, she had nothing for KGB Lee. KGB, though, didn't really score out. She was a big favorite, and DraftKings-wise, I didn't expose myself anywhere. So this was a win all the way around because I picked her, but because I didn't play her anywhere. So I felt like this was a good call.
I was so impressed with Andrea Lee in this fight. I thought she did everything good on her ground. I thought she had a good sprawl every single time Ashley Evans Smith kept coming in. I think she only got her down 1 time out of probably 10 attempts throughout the night. I thought her hands were good. I can't even imagine if she was at some camp without the husband and the issues and the drama and all this other stuff. I'm interested with like Andrea Lee in a PVZ. I think that's a great fight for her. Ashley Evans Smith going forward, she's going to be a hard grinder to really test a girl that their ground game is ready to get into the UFC caliber women in this division. And I don't think that's a bad place to be. I think Ashley Evans Smith versus like a Monteferi still is a great fight. Okay. You could throw her down to any one of those Tough House 125ers or even her versus Montano. Not even a bad fight.
I love that fight.
Yeah, I think KG and give Montano a little shine to maybe step up and because her
Prove
wrestling.
herself.
Yeah, she needs
shit.
to gain back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't had anything. KGB Lee, my piece of advice to her is change your name. Let's do something. KGB, let's take that off.
Rebranding.
You need a rebranding. I dug her in the cowboy hat out there. I think she should do something with that. I think Cowboy Cerrone's old enough that she could take a monarch off her and be
I was
cowgirl.
about to say Cowgirl.
Cowgirl Lee.
That's exactly
Andrea
it.
Cowgirl Lee.
There's
I think she
nobody
takes
else.
It. In a few years, he'll be gone and no one will remember she's young enough to own it for a new fan base.
Even with Cerrone around, it doesn't matter because there's no other cowgirls. So it doesn't matter.
I thought she looked cute in her hat. She was endearing it by the end of the fight.
I agree.
And I just think she really needs something to get this idea of like this white supremacy out of our heads. I don't want it in my head. I think she's a very marketable person, and I think that going by KGB Lee is anything but marketable.
I totally agree, and I do tease.
Collusion, Russia.
I do tease, but I do think that...
Speaking of Russian collusion and cowboy... Not really.
I didn't hear about Russia.
No,
cowboy.
I was just saying KGB Lee, and I was like, oh, it's Russian, blah, 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 blah. And then you just showed me the picture
cowboy with
of
Trump.
Yeah,
so there's UFC collusion going on in Florida. I know that the president's in Florida, and I just saw Donald Cerrone with Tim Kennedy next to Air Trump One, and he's in there rocking.
I have to drive on this piece of shit plane. I can't drive on my Trump plane. I got to drive on Air Force One. Made in China.
Interesting that you brought up PVZ because did you know Evander Holyfield ended up fighting in his debut Bellator, also known as, for the first time, talking about rebranding, fought on the Contender Series as Paul Vanderfort. Maybe I'm wrong on the first name. Now he goes by Mr. Paige Van Zandt.
Did he really pick it?
He really rebranded to that.
I not only love it and respect it, I think it plays right into the world we live in right now.
Everybody wants to fight him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he has fights in the UFC that he didn't because UFC didn't want to bring him on. And even though he knocked out his fight in the Contender Series. His fight.
It's
unreal.
Yeah, it's so silly.
Stupid.
It makes me wonder, there's a business reason behind that. There's something, it seems bitter that they didn't and silly that they didn't.
Do you think, LaTB conspiracy, you know Ronda's an Eskimo bro, or Brennan's an Eskimo bro with freaking Dana. Is it because Dana couldn't be an Eskimo bro with Mr. Van Zandt?
I think maybe. I think Paige was like, no.
No, sausage neck. Get your ass out of here.
No, you're hot, you're red. Yeah, Joe Rogan.
I'm 20, and I don't do that. I Christian.
But you know what? I don't think it's an improbability that we see. Here's like a little prediction that we see Paige Van Zandt over in Bellator with a belt on one day.
She'll make more money.
She'll make more money and with less talent that she has to fight.
But the UFC more than anyone is pimped out PVZ more than anyone. She was on Dancing with the Stars. She was on all this reality shit. She got titties. She got that UFC titty money.
She got that UFC titty money.
JJ just got on that train too. Just saying she ain't never moving down. She ain't never moving down. I'm not saying she doesn't. I'm not saying she doesn't. I'm just...
125 feeling alive.
Woo! Then we moved on to the 35ers where we had Manny, the Bermudez Triangle, come in and defeat Benito Lopez, the alpha male prospect, quickly in that first round. This was 5 pounds that Bermudez did not make, and I put this as a free bet as the Bean. I'll take all credit. It was the only one I got wrong. I didn't feel bad. I did, though, after weigh-ins, I felt like I should have pulled it because Bermudez looked so fucking humongous in the ring in there. It looked like 2 different weight classes. To me, it was almost a 170-er going against a 45-er. And Bermudez, who you're like, he looks like a 45-er. Or not Bermudez. Lopez looked like a 45-er. Bermudez was huge. I don't think he makes 145 again.
If he has to, but if he can go in there again and once they have the fight set and he can miss by 4 pounds and drop 20% of his purse, it's worth the W. It's worth crawling up the rankings. No one remembers that you forgot weight except Lesbo and the Bean. We will remember. And we will call you out next time. And we will make you watch on the scales. But when you text me he missed weight by that amount of weight, I put more money on him. Because that's one of our rules.
That's one of our rules. It is true. And if I would have followed that rule...
What is happening with my fight game right now is I'm just really starting to really follow all the Lesbo and the Bean rules, even if it feels wrong in my heart sometimes. I'm like, no, I'm going with the grinder here. No, I'm sticking with what I know.
Following the system.
Yes, I'm sticking with it, and I'm hashtag bags. Bags, 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 bags. I don't even know. I'll never have to put money in my DraftKings again.
We be cashing. I ended up not doing so. I broke even on DraftKings.
Well, you went heavy in the paint on Lopez.
I did I really, really did. But it was also because when I put an underdog, then I'm like, I got to follow him wholeheartedly. Sometimes to my own detriment. But I am going to say my Bovada account got fat again. Because I had 4 or 5 underdogs throughout the night. I was parlaying them. Yeah. I'm not going to tell the fans those because I'm not getting that crazy. But for me personally... I'm going to have money.
We did a couple
of
parlays and on him, and we'll talk about it when we get there with Caceres. But it's the same as this. Another thing, and maybe I'm going to remind you next time when you... It's because you really like Benito Lopez and you really think he has what it takes to go so far in this fucking sport. And maybe even 9 times out of 10, if it's a year or 2 years from now, he beats Bermudez every time. Right. Like, you see that he has all the right skill sets to do the right thing. He's going to come around. It's kind of the same way when I watch someone fight Khabib. Like, if it's Tony and Khabib. Right now, I love Tony. Tony is my second favorite fighter after Blessed Max Holloway. But if he fights Khabib, now with all the Lesbo and the Bean rolls, I pick Khabib. It sucks.
Following the system.
But it's like... It makes me money. Even if my heart cheers for Tony the whole time, I still, if I do everything on my cards...
We know about those moving on later on in the show. But where do you go with Bermudez? I mean, other than 55, other than, like you're saying, though.
Well, 45.
55.
Well, because it wasn't at 135, the fight?
It missed by 5 pounds! No, it was at... Oh, it was...
Yeah, 135.
Was it? Yeah, so 45. Yeah. I'm 55. He was fucking huge in there. He was huge.
I really don't want to see him at 135 anymore, and I don't see why he really needs to be at 135. He'll do fine at 145. His skill set will do fine at 145.
He's still 5'10" at 145 pounds.
Yeah, that's not the right weight class for him. The UFC should definitely move him up. I'm excited about Benito Lopez. I'm excited about both guys going forward.
Both guys.
And Benito Lopez, though, I think goes further. I think Manny will be match dependent. I think he'll just
because he's a specialist, right?
Yes, it's like Kron.
Yep.
It's exactly like Kron.
Wait till I make money off you, Kron.
Oh, you mother...
Moving on to the 135-pounders, where we had another underdog. You had another LaTB free play here. This was before the show last week. I was that confident. I had him on the most plus money, and we had Aljamain Sterling coming in against Jimmy Rivera, making the Terror Rivera absolutely tremble in his boots because he looked lost out there. Even spit out his mouthpiece in the fight because he was getting so worked.
More than once.
The ref had to tell him, do it again, I'm going to take a point, because he was getting worked by Aljamain Sterling. As you were saying with Benito Lopez, in 2-3 years, he's going to be an Aljamain Sterling, where a lot of people thought out of Aljamain and he lost a couple, but those losses made him who he is now. Benito's getting those out of the way now. And later he's going to be like, oh, okay, that's what I needed to do. That's what I needed to do. So, the Terror Rivera, Aljamain Sterling, huge underdog. I don't think we're going to see too much more underdog money for Aljamain Sterling. I love everything he's doing in there. Head movement has gotten better, especially after that Marias. He does get a little funky, which that's his nickname, but there was times in there he was almost capoeira-ish in there, and I was just like, damn, Aljo, you get loose.
He's trying to do his own style bending.
Right.
He's trying to find his own flow. I think he's been in the game since he's so young, and now he's seeing these guys with certain characters starting to sell, and he's trying to figure out his own. I think Rivera has put himself, you know, when you drive up the driveway and there's like pedestals on the side of each driveway and there's like a lion or a food dog or something.
Yep.
Rivera's put himself there as gatekeeper, and he will hold this division proudly for a little while to come. I don't want to see him go anywhere. In my opinion, Aljo's just that good. And I do think he's going to be an underdog again. If TJ's futzing around with Cejudo, I don't know what's going to happen there, but if that continues to happen, Aljo's only fight next is Maurice, in my opinion, and I want to see the rematch, and I'm going to put money because I think he's going to be the mad underdog, and I think he's going to take, once Maurice, we just keep seeing Maurice with all these quick finishes. I'm waiting to make money off Maurice, and Aljo's my boy. I love Aljo going forward. I think he is such an underdog in this division. I think he's putting everything together well, and yeah, I'm going to make more money off Aljo. I think he's going to get hate, too. People are going to forget how good he is. It just seems to be his thing. That knockout's all they see. It was such an ugly knockout.
He was dabbing all over the place. Love the way he leaned into it and all of it. He's doing a lot of side sketches as well with the, have you seen the Tyrone guy? The Tyrone's gonna fuck your wife.
No.
Oh, well, there's some Instagram follows you need to get into it. Tyrone Weidman got into the whole skits. I just love he's kind of doing a WWE presence without really marking out in the actual WWE sense. But again, following that beat, you're making money because that was an underdog. And then we move on to another one.
Another underdog. Right?
Another underdog plus 160 underdog Andre Touchy Feely versus Miles.
And
Jury.
The thing about all these underdogs, we agreed on all of them without...
Other than Lopez. I had Lopez.
Not Lopez, but Feely and Sterling. Like,
Booyakasha. Just throwing it. You're welcome,
so I'm just
ladies
saying,
and gentlemen.
The two we agreed on, money.
Cash. And
money.
plus 160 is almost 2-1 underdog, by the way. That isn't a no out of nowhere. This was a fun fight. Miles Jury coming off of a long layoff. I mean, to me, it didn't even look like Miles Jury anymore. I forgot what he looked like. I was like, is that Miles Jury? That looks like a different guy in there.
Is that Miles Jury's dad?
So,
he looks like a grown man.
Really showing off his jab. Really using it the entire fight to bust up Jury's nose from the first round. Use his wrestling in reverse to keep it standing. And really essentially win a striking match the entire time. Cardio's finally checking out for Andre Feely. I felt like my read was on this fight as well. It was just, he's going to outpoint him. It's not going to be a knockout. It'll be a decision. Ended up cashing a proposition bet on this one. I shouldn't be boasting too much, but it was decision. Andre Feely plus 345. 345 for a decision.
That ain't bad.
Maybe I'm wrong. That might have been Felder. But just give myself a rain and shine.
I had Feely, and I was so excited that he won. But I don't know if I think he won. This was the fight I was like, whoa, oh, yay!
Really? I thought he won 2 rounds for sure.
I was on the fence. I was on the fence. I was definitely a nerve-wracking fight. And when it went to the judges, if it went to jury, I wouldn't have been like, robbery! I would have been like, yeah, I can totally see it. So this was the one I was like, I wiped my brow after this one.
It wasn't an easy bet at all whatsoever. Jury didn't look horrible in there. I still think he beats other guys at 145 pounds, but, I mean, who would you really match him up with going forward?
145.
A loser off of the night?
145 division. You know what? He should fight Bermudez.
Just match all these losers and winners out from this night later on.
We'll make Bermudez fight up at 145.
But
I think Bermudez at 145 beats Miles Jury. That's where I'm like, hey, Bermudez, you don't got to do all that. You don't got to cut to 135. Your skill set is no joke. That was one of the tightest chokes I've ever seen.
It was brutal. He trapped that arm in there really, really nicely. How do you like a Feely talking about moving up in weight and fighting? Was it all the way up to Cain? He said he was going to eat some pizzas, go for the light heavyweight belt.
145, Feely. Your body's not that great at 145. If it's that hard of a cut for him, I encourage him to move up. I don't want anyone to, but it's not like he's shredded with muscle, and I don't think he has enough power already at his division, and I don't think the speed's going to be that much greater. So I don't think it's great for him in the 155.
I think he sticks around. I was more alluding to just the commentary after his win. He was talking about willing to fight anyone, anywhere. Doesn't matter the weight class. He just said, again, give him some War Machine tapes and a couple slices of pepperoni pizza.
He'll be a
and he's
sneaky.
good to
I
go.
think you play Andre Feely as an underdog. If he's ever the favorite, stay away from him. If he's the underdog, you always pick him.
I kind of think that's a great play. I like that play moving forward with Andre.
And Miles Jury, every time he fights, I'll be like, oh, I forgot he was still fighting. Every time for this.
Then we ended up finishing off that was actually the beginning of the ESPN main event with Touchy-Feely versus Jury. Then we ended up having a fight of the year contender at 170 pounds with Vicente Luque coming in as a huge favorite against Brian Barbarian Barberina. Bam Bam himself in there, living up to his name, living up to his dad bodness, and not only being a punching bag, but also being able to dish it out, because that wasn't a walkthrough for Luque. As we said it here at LaTB, we were saying Luque should win this fight, but Barberina will grind you out, and he will not go away. I feel like I specifically even said, if Luque goes for a submission in the first round and burns his arms out, Barberina can fucking win this fight.
You did.
I listened to it again. I know I did. And how true was that? At the end of that first round, I mean, Barberina won that round, knocked down Luque with 2 minutes to go, and then Luque ended up getting a anaconda, switching it to a darce, and burning out his arms, trying to rip Barberina's head off. Barberina pops out in the last seconds, elbows Luque. A lot of people gave that first round to Barberina. I didn't. I know you did. But hell of a round. Round number 2 pretty much goes the same way, other than not getting knocked down by Luque. But these guys stood in front of each other, and Luque would throw 3 or 4 punches.
I did the first round and the second round 10-10s.
Oh, that was right.
Yeah, I really couldn't. I'm like, I would have given, because of the knockdown, it's a 10-8. And even though I think that Luque controlled the remainder of round 1, I think that he didn't control it up 2 points. So even if he did, they're just even now. And then we moved on to the second round where kind of the same shit went down.
Other than there was no knockdown for either guy.
Barberina just looked so much better on the hands until they got into...
I would agree, and that's where I was going to say, we really like Luque here, but I actually saw a lot more holes in his game than strengths. And by that, he's got a hell of a darce, hell of a submission game, tons of power, and a cast iron chin. What he doesn't have, head movement and good strike defense, and he doesn't have a good gas tank. Those will fucking get you beat as you move up in the division. Barberina is a hell of a test, and Luque stood there and let Barberina land 9 punch combinations on him. They weren't hard, but somebody who's a better, more accurate striker is going to find those openings on Luque. It's happened before on him.
I feel like he did block a lot of them. He took a lot of them right in the face. He took a lot of elbows straight on, but he did block a lot. Like if they were 9 punches, he blocked 7 and then took 2 dead on. And they were brutal, the ones he took. I think there was a lot of elbows Barberina was landing.
Both guys.
This is Luque. Every hole you saw in his game, in my opinion, with the exception of the cardio, but I think it's actually going to be a problem. I think that's all the holes that you see in Luque's game are the holes that Woodley's going to exploit against Usman, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
I felt like it was so similar. Remember, who was the Viking that Usman fought when he was like, I only fought at 30%? Meek. Since that Meek fight, that's how I see Usman fight now. He has very looping punches. He looks a little sloppy. He doesn't have good head movement. He has crazy good takedowns, a ton of strength, good cardio. But he isn't great on the hands. But when he lands, he has a good power, good ground and pound. But there's like so much... When I was watching Luque, I was not feeling comfortable with what I was seeing in there. And I actually think Brian Barberina is going to be an awesome underdog going forward. And Luque, this might be the point where, not that there's no one to beat from here, but what's his next match? What's a 170er that you're like...
It's got to be top 15. It's got to be
10, I think. Even I agree
yeah.
with you. 10, 15.
10, 15. Easy. Somebody who's ranked nobody below that at all whatsoever. And, I mean, well, Luque ended up in the 3rd round. They're still pummeling each other. Finally, with 10 seconds to go, 5 seconds to go, the clock was off. Luque lands a clinch because he was finally got a clinch, landed 2 knees on Barberena, which I actually saw the scorecards for this. Barberena on 2 scorecards was winning 10-10 over 10.
They're retweeted out at Lesbo and the Bean.
They are retweeted out. Barberena, if this would have went to decision, Barberena would have won this fight. Even if Luque wins that 3rd round, Barberena would have won on those.
That's how I felt about it.
100%. So, Luque had to have won that round.
In the last second.
Last seconds. Fight of the year contender, though. Easy, absolutely easy.
The one thing that makes it fight of the year contender is that you're seeing 170-pound guys do this. That is not the amount of punches thrown for this big of dudes. Unbelievable. The amount of damage they both took.
Vicente Luque ended up being the most expensive fighter on DraftKings. I was able to pick him everywhere I wanted because of how many underdogs.
I've had him on 80% of my cards.
I still had exposure to Barberena because we said here, have a couple of him.
Because he was the cheapest dude of the night.
6,900, ended up getting 93, 98 points.
They both were the 2 best fighters to have.
Stack them. You stack those guys and you cashed out as much as we did.
A 3-round fight to stack those guys on the same card.
You would have had a Lesbo type of DraftKings night if you would have stacked them.
I wish I would have put them on the same card.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh my god.
But I was scared for a split second.
And you said it after round 1. What a fucking great fight. I'm like, I don't know. I don't love the way Barberena's standing there. And then, like, toward the end of it, but how much cardio did he come back with? And to get a 2nd round the same way and a 3rd round the same way, I ate my words by the end of it. It's totally one of the fights of the year.
It was so awesome. Do yourselves a favor, fans. Go back and take a look.
Luque 170, it is in the main card. Where does he go? What is Luque's next path? A 170.
We going to Miami. No, he's too beat up. He's gonna need a couple fucking months. He's gonna need a couple months.
Fighting. Otherwise, I'd love to see that fight.
He ain't gonna take that fight.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Luque, Miami against Damian Maia.
I like it. We need to see the suspension times for Luque and other fighters because there's going to be some long suspensions. Some of these
that
people.
was a war. That was a war. We might be.
There's
able to
no
see
way
him
you
in
get
Miami.
they might give you 2 to 3 months off.
I wouldn't mind seeing him against Damian Maia.
Maybe not in Miami, but I agree.
Even in Brazil.
But that's too high because Maia's still top 6. I don't think Luque's that high up.
He's off a win. Maia's off a loss.
Beat Barberena or
who else?
No, Maia's off a win. Good. He just beat Lyman Good.
Oh yeah. We knew that shit too. We call that shit too.
Yeah, we do that. What's good?
170.
170. There's so many.
Such a tricky little division.
There's so many.
Okay, what if Barberena gets the loser of Colby Masvidal? Or I'm sorry, Wonderboy Masvidal.
Is it Wonderboy Masvidal or is it Wonderboy?
Wonderboy Masvidal in London. Till Masvidal? Wonderboy Masvidal. Wonderboy Masvidal. It's Wonderboy Pettis.
That's who it is.
Till Masvidal.
There you go. I'm like, no, all right. Yep, you're right. Now it's right.
So
we're going like 5 weight classes right there.
Off Till Masvidal, the loser. He could get the loser of that fight.
I don't mind that. There's also other 70ers that I'm just not giving credit to. I just saw a picture of who was it? The freaking Cuban Missile Crisis. I think he just had surgery.
He's in a top 10 or 15.
Yeah,
I feel like Luque's been grinding just as long as Usman. He came off that same season, and Usman's getting his shot. I feel like Luque's got to be up there. That's why I'm like, give him a Maia. I would say give him a Colby. Give him one of these guys that he has to really, like, prove himself. I think Luque's a star. Okay. No, because it's not fair to Ponzinibbio. But what about Ponzinibbio?
Holy shit. That's a great fight.
No, it wouldn't be fair to Luque.
I didn't even think about it. Ponzinibbio. Gunny Nelson.
I don't mind that.
Gunny on the ground with straight.
I don't mind that.
Woo!
We really love Vicente Luque.
We do. We're big fans, but we got to be hesitant too. I got to remember to be like, against a really good striker, we got to be careful with Vicente Luque.
You're right.
Then we moved on to one of the Gracies finally coming back and getting a win against big underdog here at LaTB. We had Alex Caceres coming in with a decision. Unfortunately, the minus 600 favorite came through with Gracie. We had a humongous underdog. We knew it. I didn't put it out as a free bet.
I
Agreed.
sprinkled it.
I sprinkled it as well.
And I had Kron on one, and I did cash on that card as well, but nothing right. I stayed away from this all again.
As I was saying with another fight earlier.
I think you said stay away from this, and I was like, noted.
I ended up barely putting Kron on some, put on Caceres on a couple others, still cashed out through the night, but I'm just saying, I'm waiting to put money against Kron. I already tried to. I tried to make money against Kron with Caceres. With Caceres. Just saying, there's money to be made against this humongous favorite who, moving on next, people are going to be like, oh, he's a huge favorite.
Everyone's going to get on the Gracie bandwagon. Did you see the workup they did before this fight? They didn't do workups for every other fight or leaving it up to this, and it was like, whoa. Like, they are really pushing the Gracie thing, and then they had to be like, let's talk about Bruce Leroy. Just if he wins, it'll be good for the black community.
How did you feel about the fight companion? We didn't even skim on them, and we got deep in the fight companion.
Yeah, and we did watch Joe Rogan's fight companion with Brennan Schaub, Brian Callen, and our boy Eddie Bravo.
Eddie Bravo.
And I know people hate... because Gracie is a flat earther, or some people say he's not a flat earther, he thinks we live on an eyeball.
I have heard that as well.
So...
variation of it. Yeah, they went deep. They went so deep, they got a whole gallon of milk down because I almost threw up.
So deep, put her ass to sleep.
The dairy was thick amongst the night, and I was re-listening to the show today. I'm much more of an audio guy. I literally had to pull over and almost throw up because all I could hear is...
Joey Diaz wasn't on the mic.
Yeah, I was like, Joey Diaz, get out the mic. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. Even I fast-forwarded a couple times because I realized throughout the night, just please, boys, please don't do it again. I like them.
We have a rule. We're allowed to drink on the mic, but not eat. We don't eat on the mic. It just ain't right.
It ain't right.
It just ain't right.
You know you're going to be talking for any reason. You don't need another stuff in your mouth.
SBDM. No, I'm just kidding. If you want the eating on the mic piece. I know that's probably why they did it. They should have.
Well, they said it nonstop. They're like, people get pissed. People get pissed. And then they fucking ate right on top of their mic. I could hear the cheese curdle in their teeth. It was fucking disgusting. Ugh.
Do you think, and we always talk about the conspiracy of Joe Rogan peppering out the conspiracies, but like...
It's B-Shop.
But Joe Rogan dropped the hashtag fake space.
He did.
Like, he always is like, even if he's bought by the CIA to be a account, he always is just like, what about this? Like, I didn't even know about that. It's like, he drops always like weird little tidbits, like look into it. But he doesn't tell you to look into it because he doesn't want it to affect his brand.
Because it's really interesting how Joe Rogan was specifically saying that I don't listen to myself from 8 years ago because I was a dumb shit. And I didn't. When you were 30 years old, you were a dumb shit. When you used to talk about the moon landings being fake and all that weird shit, you were dumb. Now you're off of that wagon. My, how the tides have turned, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Only when it benefits you.
Joe Rogan.
So that's our Gracie breakdown against Alex Caceres. On to 115 pounds, we had Cynthia Calvillo come in a unanimous decision versus Courtney Casey. In this fight, we had a big favorite in Calvillo. We thought that the takedown was going to be a much heavier roll in here. After I listened to the show, I put Calvillo on more cards than I should have because I thought the finish was dead set coming, but Courtney Casey had great takedown defense, ended up keeping it striking. Calvillo kind of gave up on the takedowns. I believe there was a point in time in the first round where Calvillo picked a kick and didn't follow her on the ground. And then I realized, oh shit, Calvillo's going to stand the whole fight. Made it into a dirty split. And if Calvillo, I'm going to wait money to make money against her because that ain't good news.
I've been saying it. How long have I been saying it? Calvillo, if you put Courtney Casey on your cards, she didn't do awful in points for her price, and Calvillo didn't step up to her game, which is exactly what I said. Calvillo's kind of been overrated since the beginning because she sat by Dana and she talks all hard. I think this was a sketchy split, and I think it could have gone to Courtney Casey all day. Calvillo is just more favored by the UFC, and somewhere that matters. Marketability matters for them. So if you get to a close I think it's bigger than country. If you get to a close decision in the UFC, they're going to pick the person that's more marketable for them. It's kind of horseshit, but Cavillo, I don't know.
Money to be made against Cavillo is what we're saying.
Yeah, and she gets frustrated in there. You watch her get frustrated. Yep. You just see her unravel as the fight goes on. I thought Courtney Casey looked better everywhere. She looked like she made strides in her game. Courtney Casey, if she's going to be the underdog in her next fight, put money on her. Because there's not a lot of other girls in the 115 that can keep up with Courtney Casey.
I totally agree. And even though Courtney Casey wasn't landing on her strikes, the power that she was demonstrating, even though it didn't land, was good. She just needs to get a half an inch in closer. Just a half a step faster, which is a lot harder said or done than said.
What about, though, Cavillo, versus Gadelia?
Is Gadelia still at 115? Yeah, she is, right? Yeah. I love that. I don't think Cavillo takes that fight.
I think she should, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. Gadelia hadn't looked great. She is so anti-aggressive lately. She is getting fucking just handled. I gotta think she can beat Cavillo, but that would be
a coin flip. That's the fight. That's the fight. That's the fight. I like that fight. I like that fight.
Put it all on in Miami. In Miami.
Get it in Miami. Get it going. Then we moved on to the 50. Or what? Anything left with those two ladies?
No.
Then we went to the co-main event. We ended up moving to the 155-pounders. Well, Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder, came in against James, the Texecutioner, Vic, also known as the one who cannot be named, because he was looking all sorts of, what the hell's that guy's name? Voldemort in there?
Not cute without the hair, James. Unless he's, if he's balding and just, fuck it.
He is balding and
I didn't notice he was balding. I always thought he had hair.
He always had that light hair, but he looked a little shop-worn in there, even though he hasn't had the longest career. He's been in there for a long time. He's just cut down a lot of weight. Both of these guys, if you were walking down the street and they were like, hey, they fight at 55, you'd be like, bullshit. Those guys are fucking 185ers. I guarantee it. Both of them look like monsters in there. Absolute monsters.
If James Vick has a hard time cutting, I think he should totally move up, and I want to see what he has at 170. Otherwise, I think we've seen his cap. We've seen James, okay, this is about James Vick's neck of the woods.
Right. Which Paul Felder is what? A top 15 fighter at 155? I don't think he has a ranking.
I think he's sliding into the top 10.
He doesn't have a ranking.
Good. Paul Felder is looking so sharp, in my opinion.
I totally agree. Ended up really using those kicks to start everything off. We've been saying it here.
You called it out at the beginning, and you were like, they're going to add up. And by the third round...
James Vick could barely walk. I even said it on the show. He's got that tall man defense, and he leaves that leg out there. Felder has good kicks.
After you said it on the show, that was the number one thing about this fight in any breakdown that I heard, that people didn't say it in that way, but that's the number one thing they would say about Paul Vick, is he just stands there and just tends to back his head straight back and try to get out of the way of the punch, kind of
instead of actually dodging it.
It's so easy for a guy to time that and just go that much further.
And Felder got close with those right hands a few times, even landed a couple intercepting spinning elbows off of Vic's jumping knees. Brutal. Ended up hurting Vic in there with a couple left hands, but really all the damage that was truly done in there was with those leg kicks. Vic could barely stand, and then Felder started picking off the other leg. Fun fact, in the third round, Paul Felder ended up having one of his lungs fully collapse on him.
Are you kidding?
I am not at all. He was rushed immediately to the hospital afterwards.
Holy shit.
I think within the last 2 minutes of the third round, his lung collapsed. No joke.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Paul Felder broke his arm against Mike Perry and lost the decision. Unbelievable how fucking tough that guy is.
That is the Irish Dragon.
The Irish Dragon announcing for days, as everyone was saying.
My lungs collapsed. But I was just born.
Just screaming. Oh.
I was really just born, and I had to live in artificial lungs for a little while.
He might have to do something like that.
Incubator.
He's gonna have to do something crazy, cause woo.
No, they just blow it back up and you got to take it easy. They tell you though, like if it's kind of like you got to let it heal for a certain amount of time. But I've known people as adults that did it, and they like one of them I think was like hitting a bong or something. Like they hit to like
interesting.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? Like it wasn't adults, but they were like 21 adult.
Yeah, big enough.
Grown. Oh my gosh! At a restaurant, I wasn't with them or anything. I worked with them, and they told me like so and so's lungs collapsed last night. And
I'd be like, you got some weak ass. We ain't hanging out, homie. You got some weak ass. We can't hang. If you can't hit this, we can't hang. If you can't hit this, we can't hang.
I was more thinking like, can I get me some of that weed?
What chronic are you on, homie?
Give me some of that weed. Sorry.
So, moving forward.
Damn, that is some inside God. I'm sure everybody knows.
Yeah, a lot of people know by now.
Get well soon, Paul Felder. That was
totally
an amazing
agree.
performance. But you know what? If you don't get well soon, it's fine. You're doing a great job ringside. But I'm not telling you to retire. I like everything you're doing in there, and you put on a show. That was one of the fights of the night. That was such a good fight.
I mean, it could have stolen fight of the night if you didn't have Barbarina.
Yeah.
But Barbarina, Vicente Luque, any card of the year is fight of the night. I mean.
It was a great fight.
Woo! What a good one we ended up having. Then we went to...
So Paul Felder's got a heel. James Vick, where either guy at 155. Paul Felder's not in the conversation. Neither guy's in the conversation of this big tussle we have going on at the top with the Poirier,
Agreed.
Ferguson, Khabib, Conor, Cowboy thing. Who did Cowboy just beat?
I have the fight for Felder.
Okay.
Kevin Lee.
I like that.
He's inside that top 10. He's coming off a loss.
I like that a lot. I think it really lets you know where each guy is going forward.
And Lee can't say, "Oh, I'm not willing to fight down." You just came off a loss.
Yeah.
He's
fight down from where?
Exactly.
You lost how many?
Just like 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So I like that Kevin Lee for Vic at 155. Anybody, literally anyone at 155, because he's still going to beat people.
Exciting fight though, and he's gonna be a good underdog pick going forward.
I agree with that. He still has a lot of skill in there. Vic, I just hope he moves out of that gym. I know we've talked about it before, but God, every time I see those allegations and anytime he's out there, people hit it hard about his training camp. Hard. We don't have to get deep into that. Anything left with either one of those fighters?
No, before we go into the main card,
main event,
I just want to say thanks for liking and subscribing. If you want to follow Zol tonight Twitter, to follow the Bean, and if you want to follow me, Lesbo, you can follow me at Weekneck Baby, or if you just want to follow us both, you can follow us at Lesbo and the Bean, or follow all three. And I wanted to give a shout out to the UFC poster maker. I like this look we're going back to, and I always hate on the graphics of the UFC, and I know it seems simple, but this yellow, old school boxing, red lettering, I just, thank you for doing something. Thank you for trying.
I agree. I liked it a lot. It was much better than having one tall guy and one little guy.
And the other thing, which you would have made tons of money if you did, follow us at Instagram at Lesbo and the Bean, where we put out our cards all nice and beautiful, and you can take those cards right to the DraftKings or right to the Bovada or right to the FanDuel or right to the wherever you gamble and make a lot of money.
And just say, do this, do what they say.
And it's for free. We're not asking you to do anything. If you're like Dan Balzerian and you make $1 million and you feel like sending us new microphones, hey,
I'm just saying. We've been making money for people for a long time.
And look, we have a little commercial. We're going to be getting we got our new studio coming together.
Sponsors are finally coming through. We love to do what we love to do. Yeah. And UFC helps us do that. You fans help us do that because it's been a lot of your praise and admiration that keeps us chugging in here week in, week out. We got another fight card along the way. We got more underdogs for you people. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Do it.
Jesus Christ. Shield of power. I don't know what he says. Jesus Christ. We love Christ. We love Lord. Okay. Bill Diego Sanchez up in there. So, one of the times that I have to say, Jesus Christ, Cain Velasquez in against Francis Ngannou at heavyweight. This ended up going a whole 26 seconds. If you're following LaTB, you're making money because we had another underdog in the main event, plus 145. Both of us equally said, Cain doesn't look good. He looks old, he looks stiff, and he's been hurt for a long time. There's not much of a fight to break down because it was quick. There's a lot of controversy, but before we get there, if you're following us on Twitter, The Bean posted out during the open workout, why we watch all this, at 52 seconds, we retweeted it again. Cain Velasquez slipped on the mat, hurt his knee, immediately called off the pads and shook his leg out. I'm just saying. We talked about that 3 days before. Not on the air show, but amongst our Twitter.
It was some Mystic Bean shit.
Gracias.
Like, it was pretty much almost exactly what happened in the fight, minus you were right on the uppercut.
Oh, thank you very much, Lesbo. Thank you, because we were getting at it last night.
I watched that thing, and I took it from every angle. I slowed it down to
that
literally
they can show you.
Frame by frame. And it wasn't, I wouldn't have done all that, except that when I was watching the post-fight presser last night, this is what sold me that you were right. Cain Velasquez, in the post-fight presser, when they said, oh, blah, 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 and did you get hit in the scramble and blah, blah, what knocked you down? And he said, I didn't feel it. And I'm like, that's not like TJ Dillashaw.
It didn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost...
Who was doing that?
No, he didn't say I didn't feel it, like, it didn't hurt at all. He was like,
right.
I didn't feel that. Like, almost like negate, like, that didn't happen because there was no angle of it yet. But it was almost that TJ Dillashaw, like, oh, you got mildly knocked out. Like, you were knocked out for a second.
Like, you're not remembering right.
Yeah, it was, like, weird the way he was talking. So then I really went back and looked, and I slowed it down frame by frame. And here's the sell point for, I think, for anyone that's looking to try to sell it to a friend of theirs. If you look, you can see Francis's elbow go back right before it. And when he's coming with it, he almost out of instinct does what you do. You would grab the back of somebody's head and then give him the uppercut. But there's a scramble going on too. So he goes to do that. And when his hand actually, you can see his pinky flick past Cain's ear. Where he goes to do that grab like you'd instinctually do to give somebody an uppercut and pull them in. Yeah, and you can see his hand go past his ear and Cain's head goes back. And it's so small. And I don't know if it's the same. This is what I was saving for the show. Is it a shovel hook?
Yes, that's exactly right.
It was like a little baby shovel hook. I didn't write it on the Instagram because I wasn't sure. I was going to ask you first, but...
That's exactly what happened.
Anyways, all that whole long story, you were right.
Gracias.
I'm admitted I'm wrong.
Because we were having a debate. Lesbo last night was like, she didn't see
I would have bet $100 if I had it.
Almost. Luckily, we had to wait a little while to get to the show.
We should have bet $100 last night, and if we would have taken it, we didn't even think about it.
In time. But with that, for me, I just got to say is, look at his ear. That shake, that wobble means something landed. That shake doesn't happen in that coil and recoil doesn't happen in the neck if a strike wasn't thrown. My only hesitation on it is I don't know if it was necessarily the front of the knuckles, the face of the fingers, or the forearm that hit Cain. But I do know that there was a strike thrown, which was that shovel hook. And regardless, it wobbled Cain enough for that knee to come out. That's a TKO.
Actually, I watched it so slow that I paused it at the point of impact, and you can see Cain going forward for the takedown. His left foot is going to go forward at the exact same time that he gets the punch landed by Ngannou, so it makes him off balance on that foot before it lands, causing it to come out from underneath him, tearing his knee. When he actually hits the ground, his grimace on his face is entirely from his knee.
Leg. I would agree with that.
He doesn't give a fuck about the punch. But the punch caused him to go off balance, and then the way he shielded and stopped defending because he was so worried about his knee, that's what got the fight to be stopped. Like, it was entirely Cain. He might have panicked about his knee, but if you got mental problems about your old injuries, that's an issue.
Which, there was actually a photo of Cain Velasquez's high school where he won most athletic in his high school. Guess what he had on his leg?
Knee brace.
Oh, Das Boot on his whole leg. Yeah, ever since then. There's also been a bunch of training footage coming out. It wasn't recent. It's a few years ago, but it's Cain's training partner. I feel like we might have retweeted him with LaTB. The kettlebell and the leg workout after his knee injury. Did you see that leg injury where his trainer's like, oh, most NFL athletes do this for 15 reps and they only do it at half of this weight. Cain's going to do 100 reps. Max weight. What are you doing? This is why Cain's getting hurt. We made money here at LaTB because we saw it coming.
Training that hard it's like such an old school. You're burning out before you get there, homie. It's such a new way. I think there's a new day. There's a new day, a new way. Like, and I don't know if it's AKA. with the exception of Khabib. And you can say, and Daniel Cormier. Can you, though?
Well,
Because he only wins when John Jones is away. When John Jones is away, DC will play.
So, DC officially said, maybe he ain't going to retire in March. Maybe he's going to keep fighting a little bit. And specifically...
Because he has maybe Stipe, maybe Brock, maybe John Jones, and now...
I heard Ngannou nonstop. Him saying, I'm not going to fight Ngannou. I'm going to beat Ngannou is what I heard DC saying. DC wants that avengement.
Ngannou, I feel like he said last night at the post-fight presser, why don't you come and, avenge your friend's loss?
I love it. Francis Ngannou, even though he had his own little mental things, he's playing it as right as he can. He's leaning into Cain Velasquez, which nobody wants to fight. Then who's the other person no one wants to fight? Daniel Cormier. And he's like, okay, come on, dude. That's a badass.
I think
I love it.
I'm back on the Ngannou train, and we all know now what his weaknesses are, but you are mistaken if you think that guy's takedown defense isn't amazing. Give him some credit. Yeah, Stipe handled him. But how many other guys? Curtis Blades isn't a shill. Cain Velasquez isn't a shill. Like, those guys have wrestling credentials. They couldn't get in.
I heard people saying, and I don't know. You tell me what you think. Stipe Miocic was never the same after that fight, even though he won.
We don't know, because there was only one fight and it was over.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. After that Ngannou that he won, which he took a beating in, he took an uppercut from DC and was night-night.
Yeah.
Like, it took something from him.
Maybe it wasn't DC at all. It was Ngannou. It was the ghost of Ngannou.
I was like, ooh, that's dirty. That's sneaky, but ooh. In that, if we have Cormier fighting Ngannou, who are you picking outright in that fight right now?
I mean, my heart says Cormier, but what I'm watching Francis do is no one can get in on him. And if you want to try to get in on him, it's like trying to grab a gem under a dragon's chin while it's sleeping. Like, yeah, you can try to go in there, but your ass is going to get flamed on the way out.
What if that Irish dragon only has one lung?
I think we just end it there.
LaTB!
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.